One bright spot in the report shows the number of children living in poverty has decreased since 2019. The Smith-Bradley says the differences in wealth are divided among racial lines.
When you start breaking that data down pertaining to race, you see that Black children have a poverty rate of 43%. Like, that is a startling number. Then when you go and look at white children in Arkansas, they have the lowest rate of poverty at 15%.
And for Hispanic or Latino children in Arkansas, the report says 19% live in poverty. Leslie Bossier with the NEE Casey Foundation says the racial disparities are apparent nationwide.
The child well-being outcomes on 15 out of 16 indicators for Native kids are lower than the national average. If you look at Black kids, it's 8 out of 16 indicators where Black kids' outcomes are lower than the national average.
She adds those results are similar for Latino children as well. I'm Freda Ross, Arkansas News Service. Find our trust indicators at publicnewsservice.org.
Caring for a child under 5 isn't always easy, but getting support can be. If you're pregnant, a new mom, or looking after a child under 5, the WIC program is here to help. WIC provides healthy food, nutrition advice, breastfeeding support, and even referrals to healthcare and community services, all at no cost to you.
WIC helped me stretch my grocery budget and taught me how to make mealtime easier and healthier for my kids.
WIC is for working families, single parents, grandparents, and real people just like you. Find out if you qualify and enroll today. Contact your local county health unit or call 1-800-235-0002. Because when families are supported, everyone grows stronger. This message is brought to you by the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance and the Blue and You Foundation for a Healthier Arkansas.
Aging well means staying healthy, active, and independent. To age well, we need to take care of our bones. 10 million Americans have osteoporosis, a hereditary disease that makes bones weak and more likely to break. Thankfully, we can all take simple steps to improve our bone health at any age. Eat a healthy diet that is rich in calcium and vitamin D. Get regular weight-bearing exercise, which means on our feet. Get bone health tips at pathtogoodbonehealth.org.
I live my life one different way. Used to let myself become a victim, getting caught up in the picture. don't respect you. No offense, that's guilty as a criminal. Was coming to the attitude. People do me, don't listen. You wanna see another than me. Lie on my hair, to me, we got on me. Trying to survive my physical control. And everyone is so, it's me and you. I sympathize about the money that gets stolen. And I hope that I'm never to be money that was stole. I guess what every chill when you're trying to say, back it all down. I'm in my life for a different way. You could let myself become a victim. Cause I've been addicted to
Well, it must be Wednesday because you are listening to Arkansas Talks. Yes, coming in hot with lies by Invoke, grounding us in this conversation that we are going to have that already includes Mayor Lisa Hicks Gilbert in the house this morning, telling all of you, good morning, good people. I am Denise, the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise, as a guest this morning for Pat Rogers Ward, who is in Chicago experiencing some Black joy with her family. They are having a wedding, they're eating together, they're dancing together, they're riding on boats together, they're doing the thing. And so I am sitting in for her. And I do want to let you know that Arkansas Talks invites you to know the truth and to use it. Your host, Pat Rogers Ward, always reminds us of that every single Wednesday, as well as letting you know that Arkansas Talks is committed to empowering racial and cultural relationships for a better world. Thank you all for joining us on this morning. We realize here at KABF 88.3 FM that we would not be here if it were not for you. You keep us alive, and you've been keeping us alive for almost 41 years, and we are grateful for your presence. The phone lines are open already at 501-433-0088. The phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. Call in and lend your voice to the conversation. After all, this is KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. I have been listening to this podcast that's called Self-Care School, and it is powered by Girl Trek. Girl Trek is an organization that includes over 1 million over 1 million and counting Black women who are banding together to walk 5 days a week, because we know that if we walk 5 days a week, that will extend the life expectancy for Black women 10 years. So we are on a mission to extend the life expectancy of Black women by 10 years, in 10 years. And one of the ways that we can do that is to walk 5 days a week for 30 minutes a day. And so I have decided to commit to this walking with these women. I was already walking, but this podcast, you walk with it. So that's the commitment that I made, that I will walk for the next 10 weeks listening to this podcast every time that I am walking. And one of the things that the podcast does is every single time it comes on, it reminds us of whose feet we walk in. And in particular, this particular podcast is devoted to Black women. So it's always a Black woman who centers our walk for that day. But when we think about whose feet we walk in, that's the part that I'm focusing on right now, whether you think about it as a Black woman or a Black man or some other person in your life that's important to you, that has inspired you and motivated you. You think about their life and you are just mesmerized, you are fascinated, you are motivated, all of those things. One of the names that keeps coming up in my life that came up on the podcast yesterday is Fannie Lou Hamer. I don't know what it is about Fannie Lou Hamer right now in this season of my life, but she is always ever present with me and on my mind. I talked about her a couple of weeks ago on Community Voices. I was talking about the medical mistreatment she received when the doctor gave her a hysterectomy without her consent, one that she did not even know about until later on in her life when she wanted to have children and found out that she could not. And then we talked about, I think I mentioned her just yesterday when I was talking about the freedom rides that she was a part of, and they were pulled over in Winona, Mississippi, because they were on the bus and they were falsely accused, and she was beaten badly in the jail, and the beating was so bad that again it contributed later on in her life to her death. And so all of this trauma that is happening to her body, it shortened the expectancy of her life. She should have lived longer, and she may have, had she not experienced all the dehumanization and the discrimination that she experienced simply because she was Black, she was woman. She dared to stand up for what she believed was right, and what she believed was right to be treated as a citizen, as a first-class citizen. Don't treat me as a second-class citizen because I want to vote. I should have the right to vote because I should be treated as a first-class citizen, the first-class citizen that I know myself to be. And so I've been thinking about her a lot, but this morning what I want to point out about her life is that in the midst of all of what she was going through, in the midst of fighting, in the midst of working on the plantation as a child, in the midst of all of these things, the main focus on the main thing that she focused on, the main thing that was on her mind, that she kept the main thing. Some of us, we get caught up and we forget to keep the main thing, but no matter what, Fannie Lou Hamer kept the main thing. And the main thing for her was figuring out how to live outside of the systems that are set up to oppress us, the systems that are set up to dehumanize us, the systems that are set up to keep us from living into the fullness of our lives that we were created to live into. These systems deny us the abundant life that was promised to us, those of you who know where that comes from. And so Fannie Lou Hamer decided that she was going to create an opportunity for people in the South to rethink migrating to the North. Many Black people migrated to the North because they were looking for better opportunities. They were looking for more access. They were looking for a different way, a better way to live their lives, to raise their children, to leave a legacy for those that were coming behind them. And so she was trying to figure out a way to keep people in the South. Like, you don't have to go to the North for these opportunities, for this access. There is a way that we can make it possible for you to live all of those things right here in the South. And she came up with the FFC, and this was a farmers food cooperative. And so she raised the money to buy 40 acres of land so that she could have, we could be able to feed ourselves as Black folks, so that we can be independent, so that we could be self-sustainable, and also so that we can be healthier. Because even Lou Hamer knew that dependence on the system for anything could not be beneficial for us. And we have forgotten that at such a time as this. We have forgotten that the systems that are designed, that are in place right now, were never designed with us in mind. They were never designed to help us move forward. They were never designed for us to progress. They were never designed for us to benefit from. They were designed for the system of whiteness and for them to benefit. And sometimes because we indirectly, as people of color, as Black folks, we indirectly benefit, we begin to hold on to that benefit and think, oh my goodness, this system is working for me. But at the end of the day, which means all things considered, it's not working for you and it's not going to end well for you. And so Fannie Lou Hamer knew that these systems that are set up, particularly the system around what we call today, what they're calling food security or food insecurity, that this system is not designed for us. They did not want to feed us. They did not want our bodies to be well. They only wanted us to have the bare minimum that would keep us working in the fields long enough to make the white man a profit. But in terms of feeding our bodies so that our minds and our souls could align and we could function the way that we need to function at the highest levels, that was not the goal for the system at all. And so Fannie Lou Hamer was like, okay, we think about 40 acres and a mule from back in the day, another promise that the system reneged on as it relates to Black folks, that they were going to give us 40 acres and a mule, which simply means the resources that you need to feed yourself. Like, that's all you need. You need an animal and you need some vegetables. You need to be able to grow, and you need to be able to slaughter something, and you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. So with that same thought in mind, Fannie Lou Hamer was like, you give me a pig, you give me some land, and I'm good. And so she bought these 40 acres of land so that she could develop a cooperative. Let's work together as a collective on this land to raise this food, to raise these animals so that we can feed ourselves, so that we can position ourselves to live outside of the system, first of all, as an act of resistance. But secondly, because that's who we were created to be. We were created to be divine in our own right. We don't need anybody else's help. We don't need to be dependent. We don't even need to be codependent. All we need is to exercise our own minds, bodies, and souls together toward the same goal, which is collective liberation. And so I was thinking about that as it relates to food insecurity. That's the word that we use these days. But when I was listening to Girl Trek, they talked about how just the use of that term, food insecurity, is racist. And I just stopped for a moment. I'm one of those people where when something is said that just strikes me, that just catches me off guard, whether in a positive or negative way, I have to stop. I have to stop what I'm doing. I have to close the book for a minute. I have to pause the podcast for a second. I just have to take a minute and say, wait, what did you just say? Sometimes I have to rewind and make sure that I heard it right. Like, wait a minute, what are we talking about right now? What do you mean that it's racist to say food insecurity? And I didn't really delve too much into that. I haven't done all of the research to figure out where I'm going to land on those words being racist, but I do think about those words as it relates to individualism. So when you talk about food insecurity, it kind of makes you think about a person or a family who may be struggling with this, or a population of people who may be suffering from food insecurity, simply meaning that they do not have access to fresh fruit and vegetables. They do not have access to foods that are not ultra super processed, so that they can feed themselves what's better for their bodies, and not just their bodies, but also their minds. They don't have access to it. And so we begin to think about ways that we can come up with a food bank at the church, or we try to figure out how we can come up with an organization like the Hunger Relief Alliance, or we try to come up with these ways, like how can we speak to these individual folks, or this particular population of people, because they need to have this food. So we begin to think about it in that way. But if we were to use the term that was coined by a Black woman who is doing the work in the field around what it means to have to lack access to the foods that will feed us mind, body, and soul, whose name is Karen Washington, she's the one who coined the term food apartheid, to get us to rethink the way that we look at food and how food is being used and being weaponized against us as a whole race of people, as humans, yes, and also as people of color, and particularly as Black people. And one of the things that she says, the reason that we need to think about this as in terms of food apartheid, is because if we continue to think about it as food insecurity, what we're doing is buying into the lie. We are feeding into the lie that there are just some people, for a whole host of reasons that people will begin to think of. Maybe they are on drugs. Maybe they are mentally ill. Maybe they are just bad parents. Like there are reasons why these people are not able to access food. There are reasons that these people have chosen, or they are somehow complicit in their inability to offer to their families the food that will nourish them the best. And so this idea that this food insecurity is something that has happened to them that they may have participated in is a lie. If we change the language and use food apartheid, what we bring into the conversation is what the conversation should always have been rooted and grounded in the first place, is that food insecurity is actually an outgrowth of a system that white inhumanity has created and designed to keep particularly Black people from nourishing, from being able to nourish their bodies, their minds, and their souls. And so she talks about food apartheid, the importance of it, because it names the intentional, systematic, race-based disinvestment in Black communities, from racial zoning, redlining, discriminatory lending, corporate targeting, the erasure of Black farmers, the closing of grocery stores, and the flooding of our neighborhoods with fast food and liquor stores. So there is a system in place to do all of these things, and food insecurity is one part of that system. And if we only talk about food insecurity, just that alone, then we neglect to name, we neglect to hold accountable the system for what it is really doing to the bodies of Black folks in particular, but especially to poor folks all around. So we talk about this a lot, that poor white people do not seem to realize that the system that you think you are a part of because you are white, just because you are white, you say, oh, this system belongs to me too, it's going to work in my favor. Well, the system that you're talking about is also classist. And so because it is also classist, you being poor, you don't benefit in the way you think you're going to benefit, because you're not on the same plane. The playing field is not level even for you. And so when we talk about food, so I want to encourage us to use that term, food apartheid, when we think about the food, think about what is happening to us as it relates to our food in the world in which we are living in, particularly in the United States of America, where food is also being damaged and driven by capitalism. So any way that we can get this food to you, any way that we can keep you in the grocery store so that we can make $1, like any way that we can abuse your bodies and profit from it, we are willing to do that. And so the lies that we tell in this world to people to make them believe whatever they need to believe in order to stay complicit in these systems is what In Vogue is asking us to think about. And the one part of that song that really sticks out to me is when the singer says, I live my life a different way. That's what she says. I live my life a different way. First of all, that means I have made a decision. I have made a choice. I have decided within myself that I do not have to do things the way the world dictates to me. I do not have to listen to them. I do not have to abide by their rules. I do not have to do any of those things, because I am in charge of my body. I have body autonomy, and I'm going to exercise that. I'm going to fight to make sure that I can preserve that, whatever that means. And so she says, I live my life a different way. This is part of the song that In Vogue sings. A few minutes ago, we started with that song, bringing you in to let you know that somebody else was going to be on the mic. And because I always start off with a song to ground our conversation, but also to help us begin to think about the lies that are being told to us, the lies that we believe, but also letting us know that we don't have to believe the lies. There is a way that we can live differently. Fannie Lou Hamer offers that to us with her cooperative. And then we also have people among us who are offering us a different way to think about how we live in the world, how we are complicit in the lies, and how we can find our way out of this complicity so that we are able to live the life that we want to live, the life that we deserve to live. And so this is what the song says: I'll live my life a different way. I refuse to let myself become a victim, getting caught up in this vicious web of lies, because they can hurt you and they can destroy you. So you have to watch out for these lies. And so when we think about food, how many lies are being told to us about food? Do we really know what's in our food? All of a sudden now we have our legislature. This last session, they were passing bills to get rid of certain colors, certain dyes because the food is not healthy. Well, how y'all been knowing about this dye? Y'all knew about it when it came out. Y'all agreed to it then, but now there's a reason why you want to get rid of it now because it's unhealthy, because you're concerned about our health. Do I believe you are concerned about our health? Absolutely not. But when we think about people talking to us about living healthy, and then we want to take care of our bodies, and we want to be careful what we put in our bodies. We need to we need to eat organic food. Do you trust that when you go to the grocery store, that the food that's labeled organic really is different from the food that's not labeled organic? I have a cousin whose husband works. I don't really know the name. I don't really know where he works. But it's some kind of factory where they make, I don't want to say they make the food. I don't think they make the food there. But what they do is they package the food. Like it comes off an assembly line. Don't let me start lying. While I'm talking about everybody else lying, don't let me start lying. What I know is this. One of the things that he said is that when you go to the grocery store and you are looking for bread, he was only talking about bread. I assume that this can be applied to more than just bread, but he was only talking about the bread. And he was saying that so many of us were looking for a certain brand of bread because we believe that this bread is different from the bread that comes with a different label. But what he said was, all of the bread is coming off the same line, and it's just routed to a different, what do you call that thing? A different belt that's going to send it into a different sleeve. So it's the same bread that's put into a different sleeve that's put on the shelves in the grocery store. So you think you're buying this name brand when actually you could have bought the Kroger brand or whatever brand and gotten the same bread just at a cheaper price. But because we have been taught that the more we pay for something, the better it is, the higher the quality, we want to get the Sara Lee, we want to get the human nature, the nature, whatever kind we want to get, because we think that the brand name means that we are still poor. The brand name means that we are settling for less than. The brand name means that we can't keep up with the Joneses, and so we want to get what the store brand. But the brand name makes us feel better, makes us feel like I can spend a couple of more coins because that means I've come up in my life. And only to find out that it's all the same bread. They're just lying to you to get you to believe something so that you will act a certain way. So what they're doing is they're controlling our behavior with the lies, and that's what the lies are set up to do. And so I'm not sure. And anybody can call in and correct me. Anybody can call in with some research, with some study, with some personal experience. How do you know that the food that's in the grocery store that says organic is actually organic? And what do you mean when you say organic? That you are paying attention to the farm to table aspect of it? Because we're in that season now where people are talking about from farm to fork, from fork to table, from farm to table. This idea that we need to know, this notion, this concept that we need to know where our food is coming from. That you need to be able to be in relationship with the farmer so that you can know how the animal is being treated, so you can know how the vegetables are being grown. You can see, you can know, you can interact, and then you are better able to select what's best for your body. That's why we're being encouraged now to go to food, what do you call them? The markets. Farmers markets. You're going to go to farmers markets. They have one right here downtown that happens, I think, every single Sunday. Have y'all been to the farmers market in Lono? I absolutely, positively love the farmers market in Lono. but we're being asked to believe, to do things differently as it relates to farms, so that we can be in relationship with the food that we eat, so that we can make better decisions, so that we can take better care of our bodies, so that by taking better care of our bodies, we will better care of our minds, so that we can behave differently in the world, and we can behave in a way that really helps us all coexist. Because there is no such thing as I can live this life all by myself. Like, we were not created to live as individuals. We were created to live in community. We were created to live as a collective. We were created to coexist. We were created to do all that. And the clearer my mind is, the better decisions I can make about how to behave in the procession, in trying to achieve, in the achievement of that goal. That's what I'm trying to say. In the achievement of that goal, to coexist. Now, to coexist means that we are giving everybody an opportunity to live your best life. To coexist means that you can have your own set of beliefs. You can have your own set of faith practices. You can have your own set of behaviors that allow you to live the way you want to live, while I do the same thing. That there is no one superseding rule of thumb that we all are supposed to follow that tells us this is the right way to be in this world, which is what we're facing now, especially in this Christocentric society, where you tell us that the only way that we're supposed to practice our faith is through Jesus Christ. In this in this patriotic society that's telling us the only way that you can really be a true citizen is that you have to pledge allegiance to the flag, and you have to believe in the Constitution and all of these founding fathers. And so you're trying to force us into this one way of living, this one way of being, and that is what you want to call right. But that is not why we were created. It's not the mission of what it means to be human. It's not how you live into the salbona, the oneness of what it means to be human together. And so we've got to figure out, first of all, we have to just accept the fact that we're being lied to. Accept that as truth. There are some times when I walk into a facilitation and I stand in front of the room and I say to them, like, I do the whole greeting thing, and I do the salbona, and I call everybody's name, and I invite us into the space, and I ground the space, all of that. But right after that, what I do is I say, let's just be clear. There are some things that we're just not going to have it's just not going to be a discussion. I am not entertaining the conversation. There will not be a dialogue. There are some things that we are going to set right now as facts for us in this room. These are non-negotiables. And one of the things that we have to get to the place of in this world in which we live is to set as a non-negotiable the fact that we are being lied to. If you cannot believe that you are being lied to, if you cannot open yourself up to that fact, not to that possibility, not open yourself up for consideration of it, but to the fact that we are being lied to on a regular basis, then you aren't going to be able to move as far ahead as you need to move in the conversation, because you're stuck in the inability, you don't have the capacity to face the truth of what's happening in this world. Now, don't get me wrong, if that's who you are, we're not going to say you can't be human no more. We're just saying you can't participate in this conversation trying to get us to rethink the fact that we're being lied to. No, we're not having that conversation. Now, other conversations we can have, and in a different space, we can have the conversation that can help you see that you are being lied to. And maybe we need to create a space for that right now, like for people who say, oh no, we're not being lied to, not in this world. Oh, okay. Well, let's just start with something simple. Let's just start with these holidays. Let's start with Easter that we just celebrated not too long ago. First of all, why do we call it Easter when we're celebrating we're supposed to be celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Now, remember, we're in this Christocentric world that wants everybody to believe in Jesus Christ in order for you to be considered living right. And you can't. I am I'm living right. I'm putting that in quotation marks, because what does it mean to be right? But we're living in this Christocentric society. Because think about it, like they just built this. Have you all seen it when you are driving? Have you seen this the big old cross that they have now constructed. It's over 110 feet tall, I think. And so when we think about Easter, so why do we call it Easter? Why do we have eggs and Easter bunnies? What does that have to do with the resurrection? So this idea of, and then why do I have to have an entire new outfit? All the family members have to have a new outfit to go to church so that we can celebrate Resurrection Sunday. So we can celebrate Easter, because again, we're not calling it Resurrection Sunday, we're calling it Easter. So that means I'm telling you that we gotta have these Easter, the lie is we gotta have these Easter eggs, we gotta get these Easter egg baskets, we gotta buy these new clothes, we gotta go out to eat afterwards. All of that is not driven by our faith. All of that is driven by capitalism. So the lie that Easter is something that we have to celebrate, and we have to celebrate it in this way, is a way of controlling our behavior around our faith, rather than our faith controlling our behavior. The lie controls our behavior because the lie is rooted in capitalism, and that's what's most important to this world than anything else. How can I make money, and how can I use bodies to make that money? So if we say, well, let's talk about Easter, then we can also talk about Halloween. You know how much money is spent on Halloween and costumes? What is Halloween supposed to be in remembrance of? All Hallows Eve, where we are giving reverence to those spirits that have gone before us and that still live with us, because spirits cannot die. You cannot kill energy. And so we're supposed to be pausing for a moment on the eve before All Souls Day, which is actually November 1st. We're supposed to be pausing for a moment to center ourselves, to get ourselves to align with our ancestors, to align with to align with the spirits that continue to guide us. And in fact, but instead, this Christocentric world wants you to think that, oh, that's voodoo, oh, that's black magic. Those are all the things that you should not do. Instead, what you should do is go out and buy a costume and a whole bunch of candy so that you can let the children's teeth rot. And we can make some money off of your body. So these are just basic lies that we have been told, and it just gets bigger and bigger from there. So I am not sure that it's a big leap for us to think that they would be lying to us about our food. And so when I think about Fannie Lou Hamer saying, hey, y'all, listen, we got to figure out a way to live outside of the system. All of these lies that we are being told, we don't have to buy into them. We don't have to listen to them. There is a way. And the way out for us, first of all, is we got to figure out how to raise some money. I'm pausing for a moment because a lot of times in this conversation before, I have been one of those voices who would name the system as the culprit for why Black people cannot amass as many financial resources as other populations of people, not just white people, but people of Asian descent, people who are Korean. Oh, that's Asian. So I would name the system and how the system affects us in so many ways that keeps us from leaving financial legacies, that keeps us from accessing wealth, that keeps us from understanding what generational wealth is all about. I would usually be that voice. But these days, I can't, I feel like I'm lying on some level to make that argument, because when you talk about the fact that Black people in particular contribute $1.3 trillion to this economy as consumers, that makes me rethink my stance. I can no longer hold that position, because if we've got that much money to buy stuff, that means we've got that much money to use in cooperation with each other so that we can live outside of these systems that continue to perpetuate violence against us in any number of ways, particularly against our bodies, and in this conversation through the food that we ingest into our bodies. And so so Fannie Lou Hamer, I know that it would be a great story if I could say she went out and bought these 40 acres, but I can't say that. She fundraised, she found found a way. She found people who were willing to donate money. One of the people who was willing to donate the money for the cooperative for the Freedom Farms with Fannie Lou Hamer was Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte was famous as an actor, and he was also an activist. And so he used the money that he was making through the gift that he had as an actor to fund the initiatives that would help free his people. And with that mentality, then we could also say, I get it. I don't have to live in this system that wants me to eat this food and ingest all of these chemicals and these dyes and all of this stuff, this processed food that's super ultra processed, that's no good for me at all. I don't have to do that. I have an alternative because we created it ourselves. Good morning. I'm glad that you joined us today. So we're talking about how we can figure out ways. And then there were also white people who contributed to this initiative, this cooperative that Fannie Lou Hamer designed and was the architect of, so that we could figure out a way, not just figure out a way, but live into a new way of feeding our bodies, a way that we are responsible for all by ourselves. And so it's not about only Black people can do this. It's about who understands what's happening right now and who wants to work on behalf of what is true and just and equitable. And whoever that is, if you are willing to participate and the terms of your participation can be accepted by the organization that is designing the initiative, then we can work together. Notice I said the terms, if we can agree to the terms of your cooperation and your participation, because that's where we get caught up a lot when we decide that we are going to work with other people. They come with terms. And if you want our money, here's what we're going to get. This is what happens when we depend on grants from the federal government. Anyone who has written a grant, anyone who has operated under a grant, anyone who is considering a grant, you also have to take into account the terms, the agreement that you have to embrace and accept if you say yes to these funds, because the government is going to dictate how they want their funds to be used, how you are going to report on those along the line, report back to justify the use of these funds, all of these things. And this is what we are seeing right now all around the world with people who were depending on some, maybe not totally dependent, but they were absolutely in need of the grants that the government was giving, that they have to now say, well, I have to change my whole mission. I need this money to do the work. I needed this money to do the work of DEI, to do the work of HIV prevention, to do the work of whatever it is that I was doing around LGBTQ issues, women's issues, immigration rights, reproductive justice, like all of these issues that we needed this money for. And we accepted the terms that you would dictate to us, only now to realize that our acceptance of those terms have put us in a bind where we are not able to offer the services that we once were able to offer. Caller, you're live on the air at Arkansas Talks. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning, everyone listening. We have, especially in American society where Christianity is taught, they are saying it's not what defiles the mouth. To go into the mouth defiles you. Both mouths. That's a lie. We are light-being people with light spirits that live off the sunlight, and we need to have a vegetarian kind of diet. I can walk in a store and I can walk in the meat department and I'll pick up a vibration. If I walk in the live food vegetable department, I'll pick up another department. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. But we do need a real diet with healthy, natural food. Natural food is not like organic. I was raised on the farm. We used to raise most of our food, And I have been sick and all that. I'm 78 years old. But, when you live in an upside down world, you kind of get used to And if I say, okay, here's a diet for you to have for 10 years on your life, and I give you the food, and you eat the food, and it don't taste like pigtails, folks, and all the rest of this stuff, most people would eat that bad tasting food, knowing it's not good for them, than to eat healthy. People don't even try to eat healthy no more. And we've been knowing for years that fast food causes all kinds of disease. They have outlawed at least 15 chemicals in other countries that still put it in the food in the United States. And you know, I enjoy this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. So to this caller, I have to say, ouch. I absolutely have to say, ouch. Because I am one of those ones, and it took me going to Rome last year to figure this out, that I am one of those ones who has gotten caught up in the upside downness of this world. That this world has just turned us, I mean, we off kilter. What Sojourner Truth would say, we off kilter. And we need somebody to turn us right side up again. And I am one of those ones who, if you made me a hamburger at home with some ground beef, let's just go to the store, buy the ground beef, make me a hamburger, you know, you get the seasoning, you get your seasoning, I don't know, garlic, pepper, salt. Most people I know use salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, like whatever the basics are. And you need that seasoning into that ground beef with your hands. And you put it in that skillet and you ground it, and you that cast iron skillet that you got from your grandma, and you make me a hamburger. I would be less likely to enjoy that hamburger than I would a quote unquote impossible burger or a Whopper from Burger King. I would prefer the Whopper because my body has gotten used to that processed food, and I consider that to be good. Girl, I'm gonna go get me one of these Impossible Whoppers, as if because they say it's plant-based that makes it better, when truly, honestly, getting an Impossible Whopper isn't any more nutritious than getting the regular Whopper. I'm just telling you what I know. I'm not talking about what somebody told me. I'm telling you what I know. And so when I went to Rome, a place that has decided that they will refuse to receive certain foods from, like they will not receive imported food from the United States because of these chemicals that the caller is talking about. Rome says, listen, we're not doing this. We are not feeding this to our people. We are not accepting this. We are not getting caught up in your lives. We're not doing that. So I go to Rome. Before I get to Rome, I've got this whole list of foods that I want to eat. I want to try because I've done the research. I've done my homework. I'm so excited, and I'm traveling. I'm on my own. Like I want. It's a whole bucket list I got going on. I want to learn. I want to be out of the country by myself, independent, doing the doggone thing. I want to go and see all of these. I want to go and see all of these different. I want to go to the museums. I want to go see the Sistine Chapel. I mean, I got this whole plan. And when I sat down to eat the food, cacio de pepe, I wanted that. I wanted to eat the pizza that was made with the goat's milk. Like, I did not enjoy any of the food, not any of it. And I had to stop one day, and I was there for 5 days. I had to stop one day and think, what is happening? Well, it's because my body has become attuned to what's being offered in America that I don't even know good. My body can't even recognize good food when it experiences it. And that was a true wake-up call for me. A true wake-up call for me to say, girl, you're going to have to get your life. You're going to have to rethink all of this. So in rethinking what to eat, in rethinking how to eat, in rethinking where the food comes from, all of those things, we also have to rethink other stuff as well, like the use of the microwave. Is it healthy for us to microwave our food? And there are several of you who are microwaving your food in plastic containers. That absolutely is not healthy for you. Is it healthy for us to be using non-stick pans to cook our food? What chemicals are in the pan to make it non-stick? Is that healthy for us? What chemicals are in What chemicals are in the cleaning supplies that we use, that we put on the pan that we use to make our food? Like the whole world that we are living in the United States, as it has moved continuously to think only about capitalism and how to make a dollar, is willing to do anything for our money, regardless of how it abuses our bodies. And we are complicit in it because we will not stop and say, hey, perhaps we're being lied to about this. Let's rethink it. This is Ramen. Listen to what Ramen says. Even shopping at the grocery store is part of a religion. You must believe. You must believe that ground beef is actually beef. We do need religion, just the right religion. Listen to this again. Even shopping at the grocery store is part of a religion. You must believe. You must believe that ground beef is actually beef. We do need religion, just the right one. Yeah, and so that's the question, because I'm not gonna say that I got caught up. I'm not gonna lie and say that I didn't get caught up in the whole organic thing. And so I started shopping at the fresh market, and I started shopping at Whole Foods, and I'm trying to do better about what I put in my body and all of these things. And one day, I can't remember what happened, but I was at Whole Foods, the one right there on, we might not have one. I was right there at Whole Foods, and something happened that made me say, wait, so what's the difference? Oh, I know, I was getting some guacamole. And I got the guacamole from over, when you first walk in, the produce section. On the left, there are shelves with like fresh fruit that's been cut up. So you get your watermelon, your cantaloupe in a little container. And then you can get some pico de gallo in a little container. And they had some guacamole in a container that was topped with the pico de gallo. And that's how I like mine. I want you to mix it all together. And I'm going to give you some tortilla chips. I want to get the blue corn tortilla chips. I got a whole plan. And when I got to the through the line, the checkout line, the woman who was talking, who was checking me out, said, "Have you ever tried the one that's in the refrigerated section? Not where you were up front in the produce section, but in the refrigerated section." She said, "I prefer that one, and it's the Whole Foods brand, and it doesn't say organic, but it's the same thing." And I can't remember what the only difference was, she said, but the only difference didn't have anything to do with whether one of them was organic or not. And so I said, wait, what now? So when Roman says you got to believe, in that moment, I did believe her, because I'm thinking, okay, she don't work here. She works here. She has knowledge that I don't have. She's got opportunities to try things I'm not going to try, because I'm coming in for what I want. I'm not thinking about this as let me just have a field day, just picking anything and say, let me see about how this is going to taste. I'm more mindful of how I spend my money than that. And so I'm like, so wait a minute, why am I over here buying this when I could be buying this? And so that's really what made me start to question. So Ramen is saying, in order for you to get this beef, you have to believe in this beef. But my question is, why do we believe it just because people tell us? Just because you tell me that this is beef, why do I believe it? Just because you tell me Jesus died, why do I believe it? Just because you tell me Santeria is black magic, why do I believe it? What do we use as a measure, as a barometer to determine what is believable or not? What do we consult within ourselves to say, wait a minute, my body does not feel right? The caller said there are vibrations that we are feeling everywhere we go, because life is all about energy. Every time you walk into a room, you are interacting with energy coming from other people, coming from other things. And so something in our body has to alert us to say, wait a minute, why are you choosing to believe this? Because you don't have to believe it. You have a choice to make. You can choose to believe it. Why are you choosing to say yes to this? And then that reminds me of the question I continue to ask about education. As Black people, we got white people educating our children, and then we wonder why they're not learning anything. Now, I'm using the broad strokes here. I am not saying that there are no teachers that are teaching our children anything that they need to know. I'm not saying that at all. I am indicting the system that is designed designed so that our students, Black students in particular, do not exercise the full capacity of their ability to achieve academically. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm targeting. So I don't want anybody to say that I'm talking about saying that teachers are not teaching, because that's not what I'm saying. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. Certainly not as a former public school educator for 10 years. Rhonda says you can be educated to misread energy. You can be educated to misread, and you can be educated to misread anything. Like, isn't that what we're talking about? We've been educated to misunderstand religion. We've been educated to misunderstand food insecurity. We've been educated to misunderstand politics. We've been educated to misunderstand all manner of things. We've been educated to misunderstand what it means to be human, because we done brought in race and class and all of these things that didn't have anything to do with us being human. We created this. So absolutely we've been taught. We're educated to misread energy and all kinds of things. But what are you going to do about it? And so how do you even know that you are misreading it? And the only way that you can know that you are misreading it is to first offer up to yourself the idea, like to say, hey, perhaps I'm wrong. Hey, perhaps I've been miseducated. Hey, perhaps maybe I misunderstand. Too many of us think we know. We think we get it. We think we understand it. We don't believe that we've been a victim of the lies. We don't believe that we've been duped. We don't believe that we've been complicit. So I can't even do anything about the miseducation or the misreading of anything, because I won't even accept that I am guilty of it. So let's start there. Let's look at what Michael Jackson said. Let's start with the man in the mirror and say, listen, in the world in which we live, it is highly probable that you don't understand and don't know what you think you understand and what you think you know. Let's rethink. Let's unlearn. Let's unremember, like Alan Buzak suggests that we do, so that we can come into the true knowledge. Let's open ourselves up to the fact that we're probably wrong about most of this stuff, and then start from there. Thank you all so much for joining us for Arkansas Talks. I've been your guest host for Pat Rogers-Ward, who should be back on next Wednesday. We do wish her safe travel back to Arkansas from Chicago. I can't wait to hear all that she is willing to share with us about what unfolds while she is there. Don't touch that dial. I'm actually sitting in again for the jazz review of the DJ Russ. He is out today, and he has given me the privilege and the honor to spend 2 hours with you playing nothing but the very best in jazz. And so don't touch the dial. You're at KABF 88.3 FM. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.
You're listening to KABF 88.3 FM, Little Rock, the